The Kingdom of My Divine Will in the Midst of Creatures, Book of Heaven, Volume 34, Part 5. August 23rd, 1936. The little field assigned to the creature within the immensity of the divine will. Jesus places his life at the creature's disposal as long as he obtains that they live in the divine will. The greatest prodigy of creation is the Virgin. I continue my abandonment in the Fiat. My poor mind swims within its divine sea and comprehends celestial secrets. But I am unable to repeat them, because those are not words from down here. While I am inside this divine sea, I look at its immensity. There is not one being or anything that can escape it. Everyone and everything form their life and receive it in the divine volition. But what can the creature take of this immensity? Just little drops, such is her littleness. But while she takes the little drops, she cannot go out of this immensity. She feels it flowing inside and out, to the right and to the left, everywhere, unable to sneak out of it even just for one instant. Oh, divine will, how admirable you are! You are all mine. You raise me within you. I find you everywhere. You love me always, unto forming the life of my life. But while my mind was wandering within this sea, my sweet Jesus, all goodness, came out from within this sea, and drawing near me, told me, "Daughter of my volition, did you see how the immensity of my fiat is unreachable? No created mind, as holy as it might be, can embrace it and see where its boundaries end. All have their place in it. Even more, each creature has her little field within the immensity of my divine will. But who works this little field that was assigned to the creature? One who lives in it, because by her living in it, my will makes itself the first worker, and taking the creature upon its lap, it keeps her occupied, identified with the work it wants her to do, in the tiny little field that was given to her in my will. And since she possesses its creative strength, whatever the creature might do in a century, together with it she does in 1 hour. So in an hour she can acquire a century of love, of works, of sacrifices, of divine knowledges, of profound adorations. And after the work my will calls the soul to rest, in order to delight each other and rest together. And then, seeing the beauty of the little field and the joy that they experience, in order to delight each other more, they return to work. It is an alternation of work and of rest. In fact, among the many qualities that my divine will possesses, there is continuous motion and attitude. It is never idle. On the contrary, to each creature it gave its continuous work, in order to be glorified and to do good to all. Lazy beings do not exist in my will, but rather In it, everything is work. If she loves, that is work. If she applies herself to getting to know us, it is work. If she adores us, if she suffers, if she prays, that is work. And divine work, not human, which converting into a little coin of infinite value, lets her acquire the value with which to make her little field bigger. Now, my daughter, you must know that it is my absolute will for the creature to do my will. How I long to see her reigning and operating in it. How I wish to hear her say, "The will of God is mine. Whatever God wants, I too want. Whatever God does, I do as well." Now, because it is my will for her to live in it, I had to give her the means, the necessary aids. And here comes my humanity, placing itself at the creature's disposal in the tiny little field of the immensity of my will assigned to her, as I display my strength in order to sustain her weakness, my pains as help of hers, my love so as to hide hers inside mine, my sanctity with which to cover her, my life as prop and support of hers, and to make of it the model for her. In sum, my divine will must find as many Jesuses for as many creatures as want to live of my will. Only then will it no longer find any hindrance on their part, because I will keep them hidden within me, and my will shall have to deal with me more than with them. And the creatures shall find all the aids, necessary and overabundant, in order to live of my will. This is God's usual way, that when he wants something, he gives everything that is needed, so that what he wants may have its fulfillment. Therefore, I would want creatures to know that I place myself at the disposal of those who want to live of my will. They will find my life that will make up for everything that is needed in order to have them live in the sea of my divine volition. Otherwise, their tiny little field within my immensity will remain without work, and therefore without fruit, without happiness, and without joy. They will be like those who live under the sun, doing nothing. The sun will serve only to burn them and give them such ardent thirst as to feel themselves dying. So all creatures, by right of creation, find themselves all within this immensity. But if their will does not deal with mine, they live off of themselves. They shall feel all goods burning for them, and shall have a thirst for passions, for sin, for weaknesses that will torment them. Therefore, there is no greater evil than not to live of my will. After this, I was doing my round in the acts done by the divine will in creation. And as I arrived at the conception of the Most Holy Virgin, my sweet Jesus made me pause and told me, "My daughter, the greatest prodigy of creation is the Virgin. the divine volition that subdued her human will from the very first instant of her conception, and the will of this holy creature that subdued the divine fiat. One conquered the other. Both of them were winners. And as the divine volition entered as dominating king into her human will, so did the chains of the great divine prodigies begin in this excelling creature. The uncreated power poured itself into the created power, but so much that she could sustain the whole creation as if it were a bunch of straw. And all created things felt the created power within the uncreated power, sustaining them and contributing to their conservation. Oh, how honored they felt, and happier, because a created power was flowing in everything as their queen, to sustain them and preserve them. Her power was such that she ruled over all, even over her Creator. She was the invincible one who, with the power of the divine fiat, conquered everyone and everything. Even more, all let themselves be conquered by this divine empress, because she held a powerful and enrapturing force that no one could resist. Even the demons felt debilitated and did not know where to hide from this insuperable power. The whole of the Supreme Being poured himself into this created will, which had been subdued by the divine will, and the infinite love poured itself into the finite love, and everyone and everything felt loved by this holy creature. Her love was so great that more than air, it let itself be breathed by all, in such a way that this Queen of Love felt the need to love all, as Mother and Queen of all. Our beauty invested her, but so much that she possesses the strength, the love, the goodness, the enrapturing grace, such that, while she loves, she makes herself be loved by all, even from things that possess no reason. So there was no act, love, prayer, adoration, reparation, which would not fill heaven and earth. She exercised her queenship over all, and her love, and everything she did, flowed through the heavens, in the sun, in the wind, in everything. And our Supreme Being felt loved, prayed, in all created things, by this holy creature. A new life was flowing everywhere. She loved us for all, and made us be loved by all. It was the uncreated will that had its place of honor in the created will, and could give us everything, and requite us for our having placed the whole creation at her disposal. Hence, with the conception of this great Queen, began the true life of God in the creature, and the life of the creature in God. And oh, the exchanges of love, of strength, of beauty, of light between one and the other. Therefore the prodigies were continuous and unheard of, alternating in her. Heaven and earth were stupefied. The angels remained enraptured before my divine will operating in the creature. My daughter, this great lady, by living in the divine volition, felt, by deeds, as queen of everyone and of everything, and also queen of the great divine king, but so much that she herself formed the door in heaven to make the eternal Word descend. She prepared for him the way and the room of her womb, in which he was to form his dwelling. And in the emphasis of her ruling love, she would say to me, "Descend, O eternal Word. You will find in me your heaven, your joys, that same will that reigns in the three divine persons." Not only this, but she formed the door and the way in order to let souls ascend unto the celestial fatherland. And only because this virgin lived on earth of divine will as it is lived in heaven, could the blessed enter into the celestial regions and enjoy its delights, because this celestial mother keeps them covered, enveloped, and as though hidden within her glory, and in all the acts she did in the divine will. So the blessed feel within their joys the love, the works, the power of this Mother and Queen, which render them happy. What can my will not do? All possible and imaginable goods, and in the creature in whom it reigns, it places such power as to reach the point of saying to her, "Do whatever you want, command, take, give. I will never deny you anything. Your strength is irresistible. Your power debilitates me. Therefore, I place everything into your hands, that you may act as owner and queen." Now you must know that this holy creature, even from her conception, felt the heartbeat of my Fiat within hers, and in each heartbeat she loved me, and the divinity loved her back with doubled love in each heartbeat of hers. In her breath she felt the breath of the divine volition, and she loved us in each breath, and we requited her with our love, doubled in each breath of hers. She felt the motion of the Fiat in her hands, in her step, in her feet. In all of her being she felt the life of the divine will and what it did. And in everything she loved us, for herself and for all. And we loved her always, always. In each instant our love ran like rapid torrent. Therefore she kept us always attentive and in feast, to receive her love and give our own. So much so, that she came to cover all sins, and the creatures themselves, with our love. This is why our justice remained disarmed by this invincible lover, and we can say that she did whatever she wanted with the Supreme Being. Oh, how I wish that all would comprehend what living in the divine will means, so as to render all happy and holy. Fiat. November 3rd, 1936. Reflections between Creator and Creature. Inseparability from each other. How in each instant God asks the creature to receive the life of his will. How with one who decides to live of it, God covers everything she has done with his divine will. I am always in the arms of the divine volition. I felt its creative power inside and outside of me, such that, giving me no time for anything else, I want and I ask, for myself and for all, for nothing other than the coming of the divine will to reign upon the earth. My God, what a magnetic force it possesses, such that, while it gives itself completely and invests you from all sides, at the same time it takes everything that belongs to the littleness of the poor creature. But while my mind was immersed in the crowd of so many thoughts concerning the divine fiat, my always lovable Jesus, visiting my little soul, all goodness, told me, "My blessed daughter, our infinite love is always excessive and gives of the incredible. It is enough to tell you that it is so great that we do nothing other than reflect ourselves continuously in the creature. She lives under our continuous reflections. If we move, our incessant motion reflects itself in her in order to give her life. Our love reflects itself in her in order to tell her constantly, I love you. Our power reflects itself in her in order to sustain her. In sum, our wisdom reflects itself and directs her. Our light reflects itself and illumines her. Our goodness reflects itself and compassionates her. Our beauty reflects itself and embellishes her. Our supreme being pours itself, without ever ceasing, over the creature. But this is not all. As we reflect ourselves in her, so does she reflect herself in us. So, if she thinks, we feel the reflection of her thoughts. If she speaks, she reflects her word in us. We feel the reflection of her heartbeat deep inside our bosom, the motion of her works, the treading of her steps. Such inseparability passes between the divine being and the human, that one pours himself constantly into the other. Our love is so great that we place ourselves in the condition as if we could not be without the creature. But this is nothing yet. If our love does not give unto excesses, it is not content. Now, knowing that if the creature does not possess the life of our divine volition, there is a great difference between her reflections and ours, assuming the attitude of supplicating love as she prays. It prays her to let our will reign in her mind. If she speaks, it begs her to let it reign in her words. If she palpitates, works, and walks, it beseeches her to let my divine will reign in everything. In sum, in each thing she does, it has a moan, a sigh, a plea, which enveloping her says to her constantly, receive my fiat. Let yourself be invested by my fiat. Oh, please possess my fiat. Let me see in you the life of my fiat, reigning, dominating, and celebrating. I pray you, do not deny me your will, and I will give you mine. And if it obtains this, as though having obtained the most precious thing, it encloses her within its love, it veils her with its light, and gives rise to its perennial feast in the creature. It changes its moans and sighs into joys, and placing itself as her guard, my will, triumphant, hears in her the notes of its love, saying on both sides, we love each other of one single love. We have and live the same life. Your fiat is yours and mine. So in her arises the harmony, the order of her Creator. Our will, our love, has obtained its purpose. There is nothing left for it but to enjoy its beloved creature. This is why, my daughter, we so much take to heart giving the gift of our will as life, which is our deep longing from all centuries, or rather, our eternal longing, that we have been yearning for the creature to be with the portent of our will in her. We felt the joy, the happiness of the many lives of ours bilocated, multiplied, and formed in them. Otherwise, the creation would not have been so great after all. And if we created so many things and issued them to the light of day, it was because this was to serve for the portent of portents, that of forming, by virtue of our fiat, our life in the creature. And if it were not so, it would be for us as if we had done nothing. Therefore, content your Jesus. Give peace to my love that is constantly delirious, and unifying yourself with me, long, pray, and ask that my will may reign in you and in all. And as he was saying this, he took a veil of light and covered me completely, and I could not come out from within it. After this, I continued to think of the divine will, and oh, how many sweet and dear surprises passed through my mind. Oh, if I could express them with words, I would make the whole world astounded, and all would love to possess the divine will. But alas, the language of heaven does not adapt itself to the language of the earth, and so I am forced to move on. And my beloved Jesus, coming back to his little and poor ignorant daughter, with an unspeakable love, told me, daughter of my volition, listen to me, pay attention to me. I want to tell you of the act most beautiful, most tender, and of love most intense, of my fiat. Now, you must know that all the acts, thoughts, words, past, present, and future, are all present before the Supreme Being. Hence the creature did not yet exist in time, and her acts were dazzling before us. And why this? Because the prime act of the creature is done by my fiat. There is not one thought, word, or work which my fiat does not initiate. It can be said that the creature is formed in God first, with all of her acts, and then we issue her to the light of day. Now the creature, by doing her will, detaches herself from the divine acts, but cannot destroy the fact that the life of her acts has had the fiat as its beginning. All of them were its properties, but by using her own free will, she has exchanged the divine acts with the human. But if man denies the one who gave life to his acts, my will does not deny its own acts. Therefore, listen to the greatest excess of the love of my will. As soon as the creature decides with immutable firmness to want to live of my will, letting it reign and dominate within her, our infinite goodness is so great, and so is our love, which knows not how to resist a true decision from the creature, more so since it does not want to see acts dissimilar from ours in her. Listen to what it does. It covers with my will everything she has done up to that point. It molds them. It transforms them with its light in such a way that it sees everything through the prodigy of its transforming love, that everything is its will in the creature. And with love fully divine, it continues to form its life and its acts in the creature. Is this not an excessive and astounding love of my volition? And together with this, it's making everyone decide, even the most ungrateful ones, to let my will live in them, knowing that it wants to put everything aside and cover and make up for all that is lacking in them of my will. This also says the absolute will of ours, of wanting to reign in the midst of creatures, as it does not want to look at anything, or at what the creature lacks, wanting to give to her, not as recompense, checking on whether she deserves it or not, but as a free gift from our great generosity, and as the fulfillment of our own will. And to fulfill our will is everything for us. Fiat. You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 34, Part 5. Fiat.